Hi there, welcome back to the channel. I've got something exciting to share with you today. You probably have noticed that I love using plugins in Photoshop, and there's some really cool ones from people at DXO. One in particular is FilmPack, and they've just released FilmPack 8. So I thought I would jump in and share a little bit of what you can expect to find in FilmPack 8, and then I'll also give you a link down below where you can go and get a trial version to download and have a play with. So let's jump over into Photoshop and let's take a look. Okay, so why have I jumped into Photoshop? Now, one of the cool new features from FilmPack 8 is it's now a plugin. So I can actually access it from Photoshop without having to export my image into FilmPack 8. Now, if you're not using Photoshop and you're only using Lightroom, you still just have to export it as per normal. But if you're a Photoshop user, this is really cool. So like a lot of the other DXO products, it's now a plugin. So you can click on that and you can edit your images with these FilmPack looks without having to go into FilmPack, if you know what I mean. So you can click on favorites and it'll give you a little sort of a look. It won't use a thumbnail from your image. You have to go into FilmPack by the look of it to get that. But it will give you some of your favorites, or it will give you different negatives, or you can choose digital or cinematic and stuff like that, and you can just click on one of the presets. So I'm just going to go into this 1946 B&B look, which is Beauty and the Beast. So it's gorgeous black and white, and it applies that look to your images. Now, how stunning is this in black and white? So that's really cool. What you can also do, if I turn that off and come back here, if I turn this into a smart object, and then if I apply that, let's try a different preset. Let's try Rwanda. Double click it just to get it to apply it. And it opens it into Photoshop because it's a smart filter. I do love the color options with this Rwanda as well. It is just amazing. It gives it a whole otherworldly, fantasy, whimsy sort of look to it as well. So you can either access it from your filter menu, or you can access it from the plugin and you can use it as a smart object. What else is new? So let's go and have a little look. The time machine is still there, but what is new is you can actually go and do a time warp. So that will actually take you on a little bit of a journey. It just runs through with your image that you've got and gives you some options. You can also then come in, there's an ageify, which will age your image as well, which is kind of cool to play with and gives you different looks that you can use. So if there's one in particular that you want, you can just hit apply and close, or if you don't want to use it, you can just jump out of there. Of course, with the time machine, you can just go and select whatever you want. It gives you a little bit of a description, so you can go on a bit of a learning journey and discover a little bit about photographic history, some looks, different things that they applied, and you can grab these and use it with your images. So if there's anything in particular that you want, maybe you want to go to the 30s, different looks, Frida Kahlo, So there's some cool stuff that you can find in there. So I've always loved playing with the time machine, but the time warp just adds another element to it. And of course, these are totally customizable. So you can come in and click on the custom and you can edit them. You can add luminosity maskings, you can add split toning, you can add film grain and film renderings to it. So there's heaps that you can do in there. If we pop down to the bottom to the graphical effects, this is something else that has been updated. I haven't been a huge fan of the frames, the textures and the light leak because they weren't high res enough to sort of work with the images that I was getting off my Sony a7R V camera. So they've now updated all these and there's new ones that they've added in and they're high res. So you've got frames and you've got lots of analog frames, but there's lots of new frames too. So if you want to have it look like it's been matted and framed, you can do that. So there's lots of different options. You've got vintage looks as well. So if you want to have analog rounded things like that, you can play with that. You can of course turn that off. I'm just going to select no frame. You've got textures, so there's a lot of textures that have been added. These are all high resolution as well. So if you want to add some sort of grunge to your images, or if you want to add some water damage and things like that, you can add stuff like that to your image as well. If I turn that off, there's also light leaks. So there's lots of light leaks in here that you can add. So you can get really sort of cool. You can also change the intensity to all of these. So if you don't want it quite that intense, you can change the position of it. So if you've got a light leak and you want it on a particular side, you can do that, and you can just randomize as well. So there's heaps that you can do in there. When it comes to the actual presets, they've added 15 new presets, including, if you jump down here, there's now some digital presets as well. So if I click on that, you can play around on those. Now these include some Nikon, I believe, and some Sony camera looks. So for instance, I love using the black and white or monochrome on my Sony camera, so I can emulate that in here as well. And you've got some other different ones as sepia looks, and I believe the N could stand for Nikon. And there's high contrast, rich mono, so loads in there that you can play with. I should mention also, if you are using the smart filter option, if you just hit save, it will bring you back into Photoshop. If you are using it from Photoshop, then you just have to play with it in here and it will give you a new layer. Obviously, if you're using it from Lightroom, it'll be the same. You just save and it will send it back to Lightroom as a TIFF, I believe. So what else is new? Apparently you can now edit scanned negatives. Not that I've got any of those, but you can go in there and play with those. So it's now available from DXO, and I believe there's a 30-day trial available. So I'll put the link for that below. Costs. Now, it is, for the full license, it's US $149.99, which equates to roughly about 228 Australian, depending on what the exchange rate is at the day that you buy it. If you're updating, it's about $90 US, which is like 170 or thereabouts Australian. Now, I know that seems expensive, and they only did, FilmPack 8, 12 months or so ago. But when you sit down and look at it, it's like less than $5 a week. So if I have to forego one latte a week to be able to afford this incredible program, I'll happily do that. So that's it from me. If you are into FilmPack or DXO products, I'm sure you're going to love this one as well. I'll put the link below so you can go and grab the 30-day trial. As per usual, if you've got any comments, thoughts, let me know in the comments section below. If you've already tried FilmPack 8, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that as well. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you next time on YouTube. Bye.